This is perfect as a new Canucks trade target has been revealed. That is exactly what this team needs, as beefing up the forward core is a top priority this offseason. But what it'll take to get it done might give fans some reason for concern. We're going to break it down all that in this episode of Canucks Digest. But first, if you're part of the 66% of viewers that aren't yet subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon, because it's going to be a very busy summer for the Canucks, and you guys won't want to miss any of the updates that we have leading up into the draft and into free agency. So stay tuned for all of that. And with that, let's hop straight into it, which is the perfect trade at center. So Canucks Army put out an article as far as some players that the Canucks could be looking at, talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning, saying that they are victims of their own success. Their current core has stepped it up on numerous occasions, especially in the postseason, and been rewarded as a result. The roster is laden with big, expensive contracts, and the vast majority of them hold trade or movement protection clauses of some sort, naturally limiting the Lightning's choices they set out to make changes this summer. In fact, of the Lightning's truly key players, there are just two without any trade clauses or no movement clauses to speak of heading into next year. Those players are Brandon Hagel, coming off of a 90-point season at a cap hit of $6.5 million, making him one of the league's greatest bargains, and Anthony Cirelli. So we know the Lightning are probably not going to want to part with Hagel, but someone they might be willing to part with is Anthony Cirelli, and that is who we are going to be covering in this episode, as this guy is exactly a type of player that the Canucks need. If you guys aren't familiar, he had a pretty good 2024-25 campaign. 27 goals and 59 points were each career highs, and he joined Hagel in being selected for Team Canada at the Four Nations Face-Off, which we won gold in, by the way. Always a defensive specialist, Cirelli was nominated for the Selke Trophy this year. First nomination of his career, but the 7th straight time he's received votes for the award. That's every single one of his full NHL seasons. But there are some other concerns and circumstances at play here that makes Cirelli a little more available than the typical Selke nominee. The first is his contract status. He's in the second of an 8-year deal that takes him to 2031 at a cap hit of $6.25 million. That seems like a fair compensation for what he brings as far as how the cap will expand in the coming years, and especially when you're looking at that contract. It's not too bad of a contract to look at when you're seeing 6.25 and we're constantly seeing the salary cap go up, and you have him on a long-term deal. That is a slam dunk for the Canucks in this case, where you can get a guy that already has term installed, not expensive term at that. Seems expensive now, but over the next couple of years, especially by the end of that contract, it's going to look like chump change in exchange for what we're going to be looking at in the future, especially when you have contracts like Connor Garland coming up, Quinn Hughes coming up, and some other ones, and some either ones that you want to sign this year, Brock Boeser being one of them, Pius Suter being another, where if they go out and get a guy like Cirelli, maybe you don't have to extend those guys. I know I'd love to bring Pius Suter back as a depth center, but if you can go to get us guys like Cirelli and you don't have to sign Suter and save the money, maybe you go and do that, because Suter will be bringing in a more expensive price tag than Cirelli would in this case, despite the term and the caliber of player and just the experience. Pius Suter is in the time of right now where contracts expiring when the contracts are getting good as far as the cap going up. So if you get a guy here where he's going to be at a low contract now, or low contract in the future, seeming a little bit high now, but coming with a lot of term, that's a lot of longevity and not a big price tag for the Canucks to fit the bill on, which I think is a very appealing option. But I would love to hear what you guys think as far as just on the contract itself. But it doesn't stop there, because he also has a full no trade clause that kicks in as of July 1st, the start of free agency, and no trade protection at all until then. That makes Cirelli one of the only significant players the Lightning could trade freely this summer, and that sort of automatically puts him on the block, at least for consideration. If Tampa Bay wants a shakeup, trading Cirelli might be one of the most direct ways to achieve it. Obviously, the Canucks, we're in the market for another center. We're in the market to beef up our forward core. We could be knocking on Tampa Bay's door, and it might not take too much of crazy things to get it. However, it does bring a little bit of concern when we're looking at the current state of the Canucks right now, where we just pawn off superstars like they're nothing. We got rid of JT Miller, got rid of Nikita Zadorov, got rid of Elias Lindholm, got rid of a whole lot of players, and now there's a lot of speculation as far as what's going to happen with Pettersson, what's going to happen with Quinn Hughes, and things like that. But the other people that are involved in these conversations too are prospects and draft picks. So as far as the Canucks side of things, the fit is rather undeniable. The Canucks are looking for a top 6 center, and despite his defensive focus, Cirelli still qualifies on production alone. At age 27, he's going on 28. He's right in line with the current Canucks core. And that's the other thing I want to touch on really quickly here, is that his defensive style as a top 6 center, especially if the Canucks do hire Adam Foote or Manny Malhotra as their coach, bring a more defensive-minded approach to that, that's something where it could be very useful. And the other part where he's useful is in the quest to return Elias Pettersson to his former glory. We can't help but notice the level of support that might be offered by a running mate like Serre. His Selke-worthy own zone coverage would take a lot of pressure off of Pettersson's own defensive responsibility, potentially freeing him up to refocus on his offense. There's also no denying that a 1-2 punch of Pettersson and Serre at their best would be an absolute two-way nightmare for opponents. And I would love to see this because at this point, Canucks fans are willing to do whatever it takes to get Elias Pettersson back to his former self. Whether it's scoring goals, being more defensive, contributing on assists, doing something is what the Canucks need. Now, at the end of last season, before he got injured for the rest of the year, he was starting to get back to that a little bit. We were starting to see flashes of the old Petey, starting to score more goals, starting to trust his shot a bit more, just shooting the puck more, passing it off quickly and not holding onto it too much. His game was improving. Whether people want to say it wasn't or not, it definitely goes to show that the numbers don't lie and the tape don't lie, that he was starting to get back on the right track. Then, unfortunately, he was injured. Then all the stuff with Tocchet happens. Now all the thing about his training and the Canucks organization wanting to change up his training so that he can go into next season a little bit different. You bring in a guy like Serre, where all season the chatter was about who would be the perfect line mate or the perfect center for Elias Pettersson to rely on. They tried and tried all season long to try and find that guy, and it didn't happen. With Serre, you have a chance to go and make that happen. But what it would take to give that up, might have to give up Tom Willander, might have to give up Jonathan Lekkerimäki, and some draft picks at that as well. So that's something where Tampa Bay is starting to go into a rebuild phase, wanting to go a little bit younger. If the Canucks can't get a deal done on Tom Willander, you absolutely go and try and get something done with the Lightning as far as Tom Willander or some of your other prospects. So there's a lot of different options there for the Canucks to look at. But when you look at Sorelli's production, the numbers don't lie and the championships don't lie. He's got back-to-back cups. He's been in Tampa Bay for a long time. The health is a big thing as well. He hasn't missed too many games over the course of his career. Yeah, in the middle part there where he had 68, 50, and 76 games, there was a bit missing there. However, still, you have a full season at 82 in 2018, 2019. You were 2 games shy of a full season this past season, and then as well as 79 games the year before that, and 76 2 seasons before that. So there is still some consistency here. There's a lot of health there as well that you can look forward to, and as well as the points and what he can contribute. 59 was a career high for him this year, and like we have said time and time again about this Canucks team, what has this Canucks team been doing ever since Rick Tocchet got there? Now, will that translate into the next coach that's coming in here? I'm not going to say that is a guarantee. However, with this Canucks team, we have continuously seen guys have career years one after another. Connor Garland, back-to-back career years. Dakota Joshua, before his injury, he had a career year. Quinn Hughes continues to get better and better every year like the superstar he is. Elias Pettersson had a bit of a setback, but Jake DeBrusk, he comes over from Boston where he was a bottom 6 forward on a front-loaded team, comes over to Vancouver. He's a top 6 guy and filled exactly the role that we needed him to fill, getting career highs. So there's a lot of guys here where you bring them into Vancouver, they tend to have career seasons. So you bring in a guy like Sorelli, who's coming off of a career season. You can have an opportunity where he can grow even further, play with Elias Pettersson and play with some other great Canucks weapons. A guy like Sorelli on a line with Connor Garland and Dakota Joshua, say no less. I'm in. I'll watch that all day long and see them just wreak havoc. Or you even throw him on a line with Kiefer Sherwood, see what happens there. There's a lot of different opportunities here for the Canucks with the versatility and defensive prowess that a guy like Sorelli brings to a team that definitely needs a little bit more defense. We have a good defensive core, but we need some physicality in the front end so we're not just relying on the back end. Kiefer Sherwood and Dakota Joshua, they bring that. But you bring in Sorelli as well, who can also score while being very physical and a Selke-worthy player. That's a home run for the Vancouver Canucks in my book. But what do you guys think about all of this? Are you guys all in on trying to make a move for Sorelli? What would you give up to try and make a deal with Sorelli happen? Let us know what you guys have to say down in the comments below. It's going to be a crazy few weeks, like I said, heading into the draft and then free agency and all the trade stuff that's going to be happening with contracts, trades, draft picks, and everything in between. You won't want to miss it, so stay tuned to Canucks Digest for all that. But with that, I've been your host, Griffin. Take care.